Yeah, you told me this was just basically like your memoirs, like a blog, right? That's how it
I
started.
started a blog. Yeah, I did. I started a blog years ago, and it was just me sort of venting or
Hmm.
processing. It was very therapeutic for me.
Hmm.
And I had a journal where the stuff that didn't go on the blog went in the journal, and it was real scary. It's like, Jesus, forgive me for these words.
Mm.
Um, but I didn't say them, I just wrote them. So yeah, I was writing, I was processing this. And then I went to a book group one day, and I thought in my head, it was like, you read a book and you discuss it, and maybe there's wine or something. No, it was a group of authors that actually meets together. They read each other's work, and they get to know, your style, and they help you to develop your craft.
Wow.
So I walked in, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I said, "Hi, I'm Janelle, and I have a blog." And they said, "Great. Next time you show up, bring a copy of something you wrote and start writing a book." And I was like, okay. But you have to understand, we had just moved, we had just adopted and moved, and we were super broke and super lonely. And so we had been in Arizona or we had been outside of Arizona for 10 years. So all of our connections, all of our friendships, people had gone away, moved, got married, died. I mean, really, people, 10 years is forever.
Right.
So we had come back and we had nothing.
Mm.
And I was looking for something to do and to be anybody. And I was losing my mind just being with my child and no friends. And so my therapist was like, "You need to go and do something that doesn't involve your child." So I ended up writing a book about my child. Exactly. No, it's about me. But I was a wreck.
Hmm.
I was a total wreck. I was destructive. I was resentful. I was like, "God, why?" And I kept complaining, "I can't do this. I can't do this." And I was thinking today about this metaphor that we'd heard about digging a trench or digging a ditch, and the water will come.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe I was digging and digging and digging and going, I don't know where the water is. Look, God, there's no water. Look
Right. Right. Right.
at how unproductive all my labor is.
Yeah.
And just being reminded that God will bring the water. He will bring the water. Keep digging, the
Yeah.
water will come.
Yeah.
And we had gotten a prophecy. We went to a healing room, and it was people who were in this sort of school for prayer and
Was
ministry, and
it
so they were
Bethel?
learning.
Bethel.
Doesn't sound familiar, but I think there is a Bethel up
Yeah,
there.
there's Reading. That's like
Um,
the Bethel, like Bethel worship.
hmm Yeah, so we went there, and they just were like, "Okay, tell me what's going on so we can figure out what we need to pray for, or I'm going to listen and see how God's going to direct this." And so I just was like, my life is hard. And they said, "Okay, everything you have done, everything, every penny you've lost from losing your job, every penny you've spent on this child." That was before we got the stipends. They weren't giving, we didn't have the stipends. So we were just out of pocket. Um, all of it would be redeemed. Not necessarily paid back, but redeemed. Everything. It's
Hmm.
every single moment, every tear, all of that. And I've really been holding on to that. Like, look at me, I'm digging, 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 digging. And here comes this message of, good, thank you. And now that you've laid the groundwork, I will fill this trench to overflowing. But that required me to keep going and to have faith that there would be something one day,
Yeah.
that the seeds I planted would grow,
Yeah.
because I wasn't seeing it. I just was getting, I guess, resentful there with look how much work I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's a hard place to be. That's it. It's dry and it's hard and it's
Uneventful, and it doesn't produce
Hmm.
any fruit that you can see. I think that's the
Yeah.
hardest part. I remember one time you came to practice and you shared something with us that was, I don't know if you want feel comfortable, but your son was really struggling, like really struggling.
Yeah. We've had some seasons. We've had some
Because
good.
it's not all uphill, 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 getting better, better, better,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Right, right. We would hope that it would be.
Right.
It feels like normal parents
Hmm.
have their child and you just go through these stages and you're constantly moving this way. And it feels like for us we would go crash
Hmm.
and we would get better, and then we learned that our son was having seizures and we're like, oh my
Oh
gosh, we're dealing
wow.
with,
Oh no.
like, one day he'll have a seizure and die. Like, we just, these things would keep hitting us. We were confronted with um, abuse upon abuse. Like, hey, you're in a safe place now, and surprise, more happened. Like, wait, we're supposed to be the safe people. We're supposed to be able now to protect you from everything, which is unrealistic. But there was more and more, and I couldn't believe it. I thought we're supposed to be getting better. This, we're supposed to be able to protect. We're supposed to be on a path of healing. These things from the past should not be coming up again. We should not, years later, still be dealing with the effects of trauma, in my mind, which is, that's not a accurate portrayal. Trauma, it sits there. It's in your bones until truly beyond therapy, God is gonna turn that around.
Yeah.
I I pray for redemption. I pray that that sense of justice and the anger he has will be directed. It, like, just turn the compass to a just and righteous goal. So that determination of, if I could have done these things to save myself, or, you know, let's redirect that. Now you have a patient on the table who's about to die. Hone in, and you say, no, you're not dying on my watch. You know,
Yeah.
how do we just adjust that compass?
Hmm.
I lost my train of thought. Can you believe that?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about hills and valleys,
Hills and
and one
valleys.
time you came to practice, and that he had tried to do something that
Yeah. Oh man, it was almost like being constipated. Like, everything my body had, almost more than being constipated, everything in my body had shut down.
mm,
I was so angry. I was so angry at everyone.
mm,
Fine, everyone, and certain people specifically, that all of this work, all of this groundwork, all of this time, all of the money,
all the
all
work
of
you
it
did,
had brought
yeah,
us, ah, yes,
me,
it brought
right?
us to, yes.
Mm,
I remember, the day this thing happened, I personally handed my son over to the person who hurt him. And I just got, I did that. And that, I don't have words for. I couldn't forgive myself. I couldn't forgive this person that I made eye contact with. I looked them in the eye moments before they did what they did, and handed my son over. And that I think that was like a total jam in the system, in every cell. And I think you were saying, like, it's coming off me. It's just, I
yeah, yeah,
couldn't contain it.
yeah. Hmm.
So no, not everything is just better and smoother. I mean, in general, yes, but then there are things that are going to come up, and the hard days are so much harder. They're so much harder because there's a history and a pattern. So instead of being a little sad,
Hmm.
it's devastated because this is not the first time. This is years. And all the disappointment is like a backpack you wear, and you just think, oh God, what's going to happen next? And when, and we don't know. And how could this happen on my watch? And yeah, so that was a huge mom fail. And I carried that. I tried to carry that, and I couldn't. Yeah.
It was never yours to carry.
So that was no, it's not. And
That's hard though. I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't know how people could do it without Jesus, because
yeah,
that's a very big backpack to carry all your life, man. Like, if you can't dump it, oh man, like I can understand anxiety and all depression and all that if you have nowhere to put it, right? Like, you gotta give the backpack to Jesus, because he takes it, and then you can continue to move on, you know. And I can't imagine.
So we're trying to build that thought process up in our child of, you know, like, this, you don't have to carry this. There is change, there is hope, there is healing, there is ridiculous healing. Healing from things you didn't even know that you were dealing with.
Right.
Healing from things that are just following, like Pigpen with the stank, just gone. Spiritual healing. And I don't know at what point it's my prayers for him versus his desire or pursuit to close those gaps and to release those burdens. Because I know that there's power in the mother's prayer, and I fight, I cry, I get nauseous, and I am constant, even against autism. I'm like, hey, this brain is going to fire. Like, we will have logical conversations. We're going to do it. And he's come a long way. And, but then there's things where I'm like, I think it's similar to working with my husband, and how I could only do so much, and then someone else will move. And so I am calling in, what is it, Beth? Calling for backup? I'm calling for backup. And that's something I didn't do for a long time. And gosh, if I could say one thing, if you're doing this and you have a child with severe special needs or trauma, call for backup. Get bigger than the problem, get bigger than the demons. And it's okay to not be big enough on your own. I'm still not, but I've just gotten a whole lot better at calling for backup. So if the devil wants to mess with me, he's gonna mess with me and my crew. So yes, we are absolutely believing that things will be just shed off. Like somebody somewhere is going to be able to reach a part that I don't have access to, and at some point he's going to move forward. It's so I am calling in, you know, hey, who can speak into this? Who can speak into that?
But just to know that there's someone that takes the time out of their day to just go and spend time with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that he's not in this alone. No. We're not the only people in the world who have this kind of faith and have strength that he can rely on or lean on, or have experience handling certain things. I am limited. I know that.
Yeah.
But there are other people that have different experiences that can speak into his life in a way that I can't. And that's okay. That's okay. But it took me so long to get to that point, Jorge.
Because you're the mom, and you want to be the one to make it all happen.
Moms are supposed to do that, right? Yeah. It's I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but like one of the lows that we have reached recently was just he had a bad day or something, and he asked me at bedtime, Mom, why haven't you given me up yet? Why am I still here? Why haven't you sent me away like these other people did? And I just was like, dude, we are so far into this. So this is 5 years after the adoption.
Wow.
Plus all the time that we spent being foster parents. Like, I mean, on the surface, I'm like, this is a ridiculous question. Are you trying to, like, is this a trick? But it hurt me in a very new way. It hurt me. All those insecure feelings of all the things, like what I was saying earlier. How can someone have hurt someone at a soul level that I would pay the price? And just here I am years later, paying the price, and just loving on him. Baby, I can't do that. Baby, that's not what family does. Baby, that's not what a mother does. That's not who I am. And having to rewrite that script, and it's just this huge honor to rewrite the script. Yeah. It's pressure. There's pressure to do that, but also, like, I can show him what it means. My husband can show him what it means to have a good dad.
Yeah.
To have a dad that is there and doesn't leave. So we are rewarded and blessed and just overwhelmed and outrageously overwhelmed when he comes to us and says things like, I loved you from the first time I met you, or you know, I hope. He talks about his future wedding to a future lady he's never met, and
that is so
awesome. Like, yeah, so he wants to take us on his honeymoon. He's got it all planned out. They're gonna get married on a cruise ship, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And he did say, we could just save money, we could all share the same room, and I was like, nah. Sweet, that's not how it works. But we have times like that where we go, yes, we get to put these visions of future with parents, marriage and grandparents, and all of it. He has these dreams, he has this future, and he fully expects us to be there.
That's so cool.
And be those people for him. And I am bowled over by that. So that feels like water.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So those little bumps in the road don't seem like such big bumps anymore. They're just bumps. They're not mountains anymore.
Maybe. I used to think they were devastating, and I guess a lot of people might say that they are. But I've come to a place where I kind of say, oh, is that what you got? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, let me tell you the way it really is.
Yeah, bring it. Oh, yeah? Oh, it's okay. So there's this thing called the ACEs checklist, Adverse Childhood Experience Checklist. And it's all these semi-normal and some traumatic, like moving a house is a traumatic experience. So there's this list. It is. Yeah. And so you can check these boxes and you find out, how traumatized are you? And everybody can check at least 6 boxes, like everybody in the world. Mm-hmm. But if you have a certain number of boxes checked, like your percentage of suicide goes up all the way to, I think the max is like 1,000%. Like you've been through too much, bing, end of the line. And so he's at that point, and I think, okay, we've been through that. And come out. So we're done with the list, huh? What else you got? Like, what else? Bring it.
Wow.
But there's no way we could have done that if we had been so immature and selfish and self-centered and blinded by our woe is me. We got bigger. And I feel like the devil came at us with, like, the worst. He's like, okay, you guys survived, so let's take this up a notch. And I have had conversations. I don't know if saying I've had conversations with the devil. That sounds really bad, but I have told him that he is not allowed to mess with my son. Like, I have said, you have crossed the line. You mess with stuff in my life, I can take, you do not mess with my child. And I will come after you. And all of these, I have gotten real mad.
Wow. Mama
So, yes, but that took a while too, because, for a long time, I kept blaming everything on this other lady. Hey, talk about unforgiveness. Oh, forever. Oh, that's someone else did that. Someone else caused da 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 da. And then one day, I heard a sermon. I think it was from Pastor Julie, and she was talking about wherever's your land, wherever you put your feet, that's yours. That is your promised land. I think it was maybe Jeremiah or Isaiah, something in the Old Testament. And God was like, you just take a step, I'll give you that land. And so the way it clicked for me was, I'm walking in parenting land, acting like this is not my dirt.
That's true. That's how I felt that one day at practice. It was like, you're the mom, but you were like not acting like the mom. I was like, Janelle, you're his mom. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, there's spiritual authority involved. And I think it's almost like I didn't wrap him up in my fold. I didn't do that. Like, come stand next to me, but you're not in. And I had to shift. I had to start saying, to pray on his behalf, and to say, this child is mine.
Yeah.
He's under my protection, and you're gonna have to come through me. You're gonna have to get bigger. You know, none of these cheap, what are they called, pot shots? No.
Yeah. No.
And we've seen dramatic improvement just from that. We've seen improvement in the family health, and just this sort of, wow, mom like takes initiative. Mom is a leader. Mom is wise. Mom, he's so proud of me. I'm leading a Bible study right now. And he's like, my mommy's like a pastor. He thinks it's the coolest thing. And I'm just taking steps that are mine. Steps where I'm saying, my son's going to see me praying. He's going to see me. Oh, okay. So I don't know what happened one day, but we just were like having a day, I don't know, homeschooling or something. And I stopped in the middle of the day and I was like, I need to pray. And so I sat down, because I made it a goal in this change to intentionally allow my son to see me pray, because it was very private. So I'm still kind of coming out of this, like, to pray out loud is it's a lot. Yes, it's a lot. So yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Wait, back up. This is past me.
Okay.
So I go and sit on the couch, and my child is watching me, and not unlike the dolls that are looking at you and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, just pray. And so I'm praying, and I start praying for him, and I start praying for our relationship, and I start crying, like, great, here we go. We're going to go all in. So I'm sitting and I'm praying, and I start speaking in tongues, and I'm unintelligible. And my son is like, oh, like, what happened to mom? And my husband came home on his lunch break, and we didn't know. He came home and he walked in, and he saw me on the couch, and he goes, what'd you do? And my son was like, I didn't do anything. Mom's praying. She's praying.